Okay, so we are doing our first football club history video in a while, and we're looking at Salford City in this video. Now, this club get a lot of comparisons are drawn with Forest Green Rovers, who are also in the same division in League Two this season. Salford City are a comparatively young club compared to other clubs in the Football League and even in the non-league, because they're founded in 1940, so a very, very young club by football club standards. Most clubs are founded in the 1880s to 1900s. This club, 1940 is their foundation date. They don't enter the Football League until 2017. They're an amateur club until 2017. They don't turn fully professional until 2017. Their current home ground is Moor Lane, current capacity of 5,106, also known as the Peninsula Stadium. About half of that capacity is seated. That's the 2,246 seats in the stadium. It's not an all-seater stadium, and that's because of their former non-league amateur status. They have a very small ground, very similar in size to the new lawn which Forest Green Rovers play out of. So there's some comparisons there, and there are other comparisons saying that they're a plastic club, tin pot club, small fan base, and that's thrown around by more established Football League sides that also go back longer with older clubs. Now, the club itself has had a few name changes since its foundation in 1940. They were initially known as Salford Central from 1940 to 1963. Then they were known as Salford Amateurs, hence their nickname the Ammies, between 1963 and 1978. And they've had their current name since 1978. Two turning points in the club's history. Whilst a non-league club, the Great Escape season of 2008-2009, that's their club folklore, that's their famous moment in their non-league history when it went down to the last day of the season in the North West Counties League. They had to win and another team had to lose, and it went in their favour. They had a shocking start to the season. I think they lost the first 6-7 games or something. Really shocking season, right at the bottom of the league for most of the season. It went down to the last day of the season, and of course the Great Escape. A few clubs have had that Great Escape moniker in their history, where they've had that one season where everything's dreadful, and suddenly in the last few games of the season they find some form and survive by a point or goal difference. They've had their own Great Escape. The big turning point, however, is in 2014 when the class of 92, 5 players of the Manchester United FA Cup youth winning team, who've all retired at this point, come along and purchase the football club. That is Nicky Butt, former Man United and Newcastle United midfielder, Ryan Giggs, who has played the most seasons for Manchester United over a 3 or 4 decade period. Ryan Giggs, appearance holder, the lot. I think he has the most winners' medals in Man United history as well. Also was Wales manager for a while. Obviously, his famous publicised private life and his legal issues have dominated the headlines with Ryan Giggs in more recent times. But as a player on the field, fantastic player. Paul Scholes, another player who played his entire career at Man United. And Gary Neville, former Valencia manager, who also played his entire career at Man United. And Phil Neville, former England women's manager, former Everton captain, former Man United player, and former manager of Inter Miami in the MLS. So you've got some footballing experience there, and that's some pretty footballing royalty, especially in Greater Manchester. They take over. Within 5 years of them taking over, they're a Football League club. They turn professional not long after the takeover in 2017. They become a fully professional outfit, where all the players are on full-time contracts. 2019, they reached the Football League via the National League playoff final. They defeat Fylde 3-0 in that playoff final, and then they enter the Football League. They've been a League Two club throughout their existence in the Football League since 2019, and they finished 7th last season, so they missed out on the playoffs to League One, but they had a decent season last year, finishing 7th. Their rivals are really interesting because this is by fan survey. And of course, a lot of their rivals are also non-league rivals from their lengthy spell in the non-league between 1940 and 2019. But some of the clubs listed here are very interesting. Oldham Athletic, they're a Greater Manchester club. They're currently in the non-league, but they played a few games in the Football League against each other. Oldham fans don't really see them as a rival. Bolton Wanderers, they don't see them as a rival. That's the Bolton and Oldham fans, but Salford City fans do see them as a big rival. Accrington Stanley, they are also seen as a bit of a rival. Accrington Stanley fans don't see Salford City as a rival. Macclesfield Town are classed as a rival, again by surveys done of Salford City fans. Crewe Alexandra, that's another fan rivalry that Salford City fans see as a regional rival. Leyton Orient, and that's because of some non-league rivalry there. They don't like each other. And Leyton Orient are from London. Curzon Ashton, there's a club name we haven't heard for a while. Darlington, former Football League club. FC United and Manchester, there is a logic to that rivalry, and I'll do a video on FC United and Manchester. Very interesting foundation story, very interesting club, very passionate fan base. Ashton United, another club in Greater Manchester, and Radcliffe Borough are major rivals from their non-league days. Since being a Football League club, they have won the Football League trophy in the 2019-2020 seasons. That was their first ever season in the Football League. They win Football League silverware. So there we go. There's a brief history of Salford City Football Club. Most of their history as a non-league club, only been professional for 7 years, 8 years, and a lot of that is to do with the class of '92 takeover, and the money and investment they brought to the club since 2014. They could have invested in FC United and Manchester, and then that club's history could have been completely different. They've decided to invest in Salford City, and yes, the fan base is small, and yes, a lot of other fan bases, take the mickey a little bit out of Salford City. They do make the comparisons with Forest Green Rovers, but I think in the difference, and I will say this, the difference is I think there's a bit more of a long-term plan with Salford City. There's a bit more foundation with Salford City, and there's the potential to grow the fan base should they work their way up the Football League pyramid. Forest Green Rovers seem to be going the other way. And of course, the weight that Nicky Butt, Ryan Giggs, Paul Scholes and Gary and Phil Neville as footballing royalty have in footballing circles will encourage investment, will encourage interest, and negative or positive interest. It will put eyes on the product, whereas Dale Vince with Forest Green Rovers, he's a bit more controversial. Although Ryan Giggs is a controversial figure in regards to his legal issues he's had and the fact he lost the Wales job and what's happened since his retirement. And Gary Neville, some of his views are a bit controversial in commentary and as a football pundit with Sky Sports. So he gets a little bit of controversy there. But that is footballing royalty who are part of the ownership group. They know football. And we can debate the pros and cons and the failures and successes of Ryan Giggs, Phil and Gary Neville as football managers, but they were damn good players. And we'll see what happens with the direction of that Salford City take and whether they have a successful League Two season this year. As of recording this video, they've just lost at home 2-1 to Accrington Stanley, who are a rebirth of two previous iterations of Accrington, who were founders of the Football League way back in 1888. And it's very interesting that the fan base of Salford see Accrington as a rival. Accrington fans don't see Salford as a rival, really. Their histories are very, very different. The directions both clubs have taken are very, very different. And Accrington have played at a higher level. So there we go. Thank you very much for watching. Place your thoughts on Salford City in the comment section below. And I'll have some more content for you very, very soon.